So you're probably thinking of visiting New York City, but at the same time, you're kind of stressed out about where to park your car when visiting. Now, this is something that stresses a lot of people out because they might want to take their car and not take public transportation if they can, but at the same time, it's just like thinking about where you're going to park your car is definitely like something that affects your whole time in New York City. So there's a couple things that you should know before bringing your car here. Now, you can't really rely on street parking in New York City. I'm not saying that you can't get it, and depending on which neighborhood you're going to, it could be an option, but it's definitely not the best option because there's typically street cleaning going on at a lot of times during the week, sometimes on the weekends, but depends on the neighborhood, or parking authority is just going through and just giving out tickets if you're not supposed to be parking there at a certain time of day, or if you're in a bus lane or something like that. So it's definitely not the easiest city to figure out parking, that's for sure. So something I didn't know when I first was moving to New York City and would have my car there from time to time, no standing means don't park your car there. That is something that I literally had no idea what they were talking about. I was like, what do you mean no standing? Like you're gonna get a ticket for standing on the sidewalk? I don't understand. Like literally like that was going through my mind. So if that has ever happened to anybody, or if somebody was like ever looking at that sign is like, what are you talking about? You're not alone, because at like 22 years old, I did not understand that concept at all. I was like, I would park there and I did get a ticket because I was just like, what do you mean no standing? And they mean you can't park your car there. So went over my head completely. So just so you know, don't make the same mistake I made. So like I also said, bus stops, bus lanes, be careful not to park in there because they will 100% give you a ticket, and the buses, like, I mean, they'll practically run you over at the same time too. So you definitely can't do that either. So street cleaning does happen twice a week in pretty much every neighborhood, but at the same time, it's typically during the week. However, I do think there are some neighborhoods that do weekend street cleaning. So if you're coming on the weekend, you might still have to look out for the signs that will tell you the street cleaning days and the actual time of the day. So I do recommend, if you can, parking in a garage, just because it's so much easier and you'll have more of a peace of mind than kind of like looking out at your car every 5 seconds. I definitely recommend it. Now, I would say that you can go on an app called Spot Hero. That's really the only parking app I've used in New York City, and you can actually look at different garages and kind of find and reserve a spot before you even get to the city. So gone are the days of having to like drive around Midtown Manhattan and just like ask different garages how much it's gonna cost and going from garage to garage. I mean, people still do that because they don't know about these apps, but you don't have to do that anymore, which makes coming to the city with a car so much easier than it used to be. And also, you can just drive into a parking garage and just ask them the price. You don't have to use the apps, but typically there's more of a discount on the app. So I do recommend like downloading an app like Spot Hero and using that beforehand. So there are other apps as well, but however, that's the only one I've ever had personal experience with. So I only like to recommend things that I know in these videos. So I would say that the hardest place to get parking is definitely going to be Midtown, just because that typically has the most tourist traffic, but it really does range from neighborhood to neighborhood. I bet there's people who would say the same thing in like the parts of the Upper East Side or parts of the Upper West Side, and the same downtown as well. So I personally live downtown, and I do think that there are a lot of parking garages that I can recommend when friends and family are coming to visit that I know of, but everybody just knows their neighborhood best when it comes to parking. So I hope this helped you figure out how to find parking and also where to avoid as well, because that's really important in New York City. Now, something I also want to include is if you're in the other boroughs outside of Manhattan, now street parking also might be a little bit difficult depending on where you are, but it's definitely going to be a little bit easier to find street parking there than it's going to be in Manhattan, because Manhattan is going to be the hardest place to find street parking. Again, it's not impossible, but it's just difficult. So I would say that if you want peace of mind, parking garages, at least you don't have to worry about it when you're there. So if anybody has any ideas or any experiences that I didn't talk about in this video, I would love to hear about them in the comments, because as always, I love hearing from you guys.